Sir, welcome back here to America's Newsroom.
Hey, good to be with you. Thank you.
The vote will happen, we believe, sometime about mid-afternoon, but you're going to speak on the floor at 1 o'clock. What's your message?
Well, the message is simple. There were false promises that were made. It was characterized not as a tax hike. The court has said without any ambiguity it is a tax hike, and the remedy is to remove this from as an obstacle of job creation, and let's move forward on something that's new and fresh and not be stuck in this thing that really is increasingly unpopular. That's the theme, and I think ultimately the public will have the last word on this in November.
And quite likely you're right about that. You just heard from Steny Hoyer. More than 30 times House Republicans have done this. Is it still effective now, or is it losing its punch, do you believe?
No, look, this is a point of real clarity, and the public, I think, what I'm hearing from my district in suburban Chicago is they have no interest in having a tax hike foisted upon them, particularly when the economy is in such tough shape right now. So you're going to see House GOP continue to fight to repeal this bad law. It's increasingly unpopular with independent voters that the president desperately needs in his re-election bid. It's increasingly popular with women voters who make 85% of the health care decisions in this country. So we're going to continue to push for those types of things that we can remove as obstacles to job creation and move towards patient-centered health care options that drive the cost down and ultimately try and deal cumulatively with pre-existing conditions. Look, this could be great. We could have a system that is rational again and where the cost drivers that don't add any value to this equation are removed. That's where the country, I think, wants us to be going instead of a lot of other political drama and dogma that the White House insists on.
I'll tell you what the White House says in a moment, but first, how many Democrats will vote with Republicans today?
That's going to be a very interesting question. So, some of them made commitments that they weren't going to support tax hikes in the past, and now unambiguously, the United States Supreme Court has said this is a tax hike. The president doesn't want to hear that, but every thinking person has pretty much agreed it's a tax hike. So now Democrats on the other side are going to have to say, do they stick with the president or do they stick with their constituents? My hunch is you're going to see several of them cross over and vote with the GOP on this.
We heard a number of 3 a bit earlier today, which would not be significant, as you know, and I think, frankly, you would like more in order to buttress your argument. But this is what the White House is going to say on this. You know, it's a campaign year. You've got 119 days before the vote. That if you do this, it would cost millions of hardworking middle-class families the security of affordable health coverage and care that they deserve. Now, can President Obama go out to places like Iowa and Ohio and Colorado and sell this message and use it against you?
Look, the president has to completely embrace the totality of the act that he passed, a massive tax hike that has done what? It was promised that it was going to bring costs down. It hasn't brought costs down. People were promised that they were going to be able to keep the doctors that they had. They're not able to. You see more and more folks and more employers are moving away from offering coverage. You see employers that are saying now we're not going to have 50 or more employees because we don't want to trigger this new threshold. We're not going to hire that new person or 2 or 3. So I don't think it's helpful politically for President Obama, but set that aside for a second. Go right to what is best for job growth in the United States, and I don't think with a straight face anybody can say we're better off from a job and a competitiveness and a growth agenda point of view with this as an albatross around the neck of the economy. We should shed it and move on.
Peter, thank you. Peter Roskam's a Republican from Illinois. You'll talk at 1 o'clock thereabouts, a vote sometime around 3 o'clock Eastern time today. We will be watching. Thanks again, sir.
Thank you.
All right, Martha.
All right, well, there are some new concerns.